And welcome back to Scott's Speaking Sports Today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back with my dad today. It is another great week with college football. Let's get into those picks right now for this weekend's action. First two games out this weekend are going to be tonight. Two top 25 games tonight on the docket, as it will be number 12 Penn State heading in to College Park to take on Maryland. I'm going to go with Penn State, who has been looking very good this year. I'm going to take Penn State on the road to get a close win on the road at Maryland. Maryland has looked okay this year, not good enough to beat Penn State this year. Give me Penn State on the road.
Friday night games historically have been ripe for upsets. I think Maryland is going to pull the upset here. They've got a great offense. I think Penn State's overrated. I like Maryland in this game to pull off the upset.
Next up, Herm Edwards and Arizona State after getting beat last week by, can't remember who that was last week, as they head into Berkeley to take on number 15 ranked Cal. Uncle Lou's been saying this team's been overrated all season. I agree with that, but they're not going to lose this week. Give me Cal at home to get a win over Herm Edwards and Arizona State.
I'm going for two upsets on a Friday night. I think Arizona State's going to get in there, and they're going to beat Cal. I think Cal's overrated. Arizona State's already proven they can win on the road against Michigan State. Give me Arizona State.
Actually, let me change that.
I convinced you, huh?
Arizona State will win this game.
All right.
I have a couple of Arizona State fans that I follow on YouTube, and they're not subscribed to me yet, but they will be once I pick Arizona State this week. Give me the Sun Devils on the road. Now into the Saturday slated games. The lunch games, also known as the noon games. It'll be Texas Tech and Oklahoma in Norman. The over-under for this game is 70. Oklahoma favored by 27. I will take Oklahoma to get a win at home in Norman to get it done against Texas Tech. The last 3 years, they've scored over 60 points in this game. Over 60 points have been scored in this game, so I think Oklahoma could cover, and I think they will. Oklahoma gets it done against Texas Tech.
I'll take Oklahoma, and I'll take the over in this game.
Yeah. Next up, Northwestern and Wisconsin. Wisconsin made me a believer last week after they absolutely demolished Michigan last week. Give me Jonathan Taylor and Wisconsin to get the win at home against Northwestern.
I think Wisconsin may be a Final Four team. You heard me. Final Four team.
Yep.
I think they could get to the Big Ten, win the Big Ten championship, go undefeated, and get into the Final Four. I think that's how good this Wisconsin team is. They will beat Northwestern easily.
And right now, I do have Jonathan Taylor as my current Heisman Trophy leader right now. I know running backs hardly ever win the Heisman Trophy, but, we'll see what happens as it goes on later on in the season. Next up, it will be Iowa and Middle Tennessee. Iowa had the week off last week after a huge win a couple weeks ago at Iowa State as they head in to take on Middle Tennessee. I will take Nate Stanley and Iowa to keep it going. They get a win at home in Iowa City at Kinnick against Middle Tennessee.
One word, Hawkeyes.
Next up, Rutgers and Michigan. Michigan looking for a bounce back after an embarrassing loss last week to Wisconsin. I'm going to go with Michigan at home to get it done in the Big House against a Rutgers team that's not very good. Jim Harbaugh knows how to beat the bad teams and doesn't know how to beat the good teams. So I think they'll beat a bad team this week in Rutgers. Give me Michigan at home against Rutgers.
If you want a bounce back win, Rutgers is the team to play. Michigan's going to get the win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Next up at AT&T Stadium, Jerry's Road will be having a game this week in college football. As it'll be number 23 Texas A&M looking for a bounce back after a not so fantastic performance last week against Auburn, as they head into AT&T Stadium to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. I will take Kellen Mond and Texas A&M to get a win on the road in Arlington. It's basically a home game for them, but I'll take Kellen Mond and Texas A&M to bounce back. Jimbo Fisher will get his team ready to go this week. I'll take the Aggies in Arlington to get a win against Arkansas.
Arkansas is a really bad team at this point. Texas A&M is above average team. Texas A&M should win this by 10 points.
Next up, it will be Dabo Swinney and Clemson heading into Chapel Hill to take on Mack Brown in North Carolina. I think this game could be closer than people think. 28 points is a very big number this week. They may cover, but I think they will cover. I'll take Clemson to get it done on the road in Chapel Hill against Mack Brown in North Carolina.
North Carolina started off really hot, and they've cooled off since, but they seem to get up for big games. I still think Clemson's going to win, but I do think North Carolina is actually going to cover.
Next up, Ole Miss and Alabama. Another CBS game for Alabama this week as they head into Tuscaloosa to take on Ole Miss. I'll take Nick Saban and Alabama to get another SEC win at home in Tuscaloosa against Ole Miss. I think Colin and Katie will be going to the game tomorrow, so I'll be taking Alabama at home to get a win against Ole Miss.
Alabama's going to roll. They're just too good.
Next up, Virginia and Notre Dame, 3:30 on NBC, the Notre Dame broadcasting channel. I will take, here's my upset of the week. Give me Virginia on the road to upset Notre Dame. I feel like Notre Dame did not look pretty good last week against Georgia, but I'm taking the big upset here. Give me Virginia, a team who I predicted to make a New Year's Six Bowl this year. Give me Virginia to upset the Fighting Irish on the road in Notre Dame Stadium this week against the Irish.
Bold pick, my friend. Bold pick. I'm going the other way. I think Notre Dame is going to be very upset after losing to Georgia last week. They're at home. I think Virginia is a little overrated. They barely beat Florida State. I like Notre Dame in this one.
But I don't think they'll cover the 11.5. I feel like it's going to be a close game, though, all the way through.
I agree with that.
Next up, number 21, USC, back in the rankings after a big win last week against Utah, as they head into Seattle and Husky Stadium to take on Jacob Eason and Washington. USC onto their third-string quarterback this week. I will take Jacob Eason and Washington to get the win at home in Husky Stadium in Seattle this weekend against USC.
USC's been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They've been really good one week, really bad another week. But I think Washington's just too good at home. I like Washington to win this one.
Next up, Indiana and Michigan State, a battle of 2 3-1s here in East Lansing as Michigan State's back into the top 25. Stays in after and it lost to Arizona State a couple weeks ago. I think Michigan State's going to bounce back this week. Give me Sparty at home to get a win over Indiana.
I agree. I think Michigan State's going to win probably by 7 to 10 points.
Next up, and probably one of the biggest blowouts of the weekend, is it'll be Towson heading into the Swamp to take on Kyle Trask and the Gators. I will take Florida at home.
Boo.
They're not going to look. They might look a little impressive this week, but you won't see a lot of the starters this week. They're going to get ready for next week against Auburn. Give me Florida at home to get a win over Towson this week and get to 5-0 as they head into Auburn, as they head into Gainesville next week to play Auburn.
I agree. Florida's going to beat Townsend pretty handily. This game is a no-brainer.
Next up, Mississippi State and Auburn. This would have been my upset pick of the week if this was in Starkville this week, but I'm going to take Bo Nix and Auburn to get a close win in Jordan-Hare this week against Mississippi State.
Auburn surprised me last week. I actually thought Texas A&M would win that game, so I was impressed with Auburn. I think they're going to get the win against Mississippi State as well.
And this is the biggest line of the weekend, as it will be UConn heading in to Spectrum Stadium to take on the number 22 ranked UCF Knights, favored by 42.5 this weekend.
Nice!
Against UConn. I do not think UCF's going to cover. I feel like we're going to set our starters a little bit too much this week. I think we're going to take the foot off the gas pedal in the second half. Get ready for next week against Cincinnati. I'll take the Knights to win, but they do not cover that 42.5 against UConn.
I agree. I think the Knights are going to win, and they're going to roll.
Next up, Kansas State and Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Oklahoma State looked pretty good last week against Texas. I'm going to take the upset. Give me Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State to get a win at home against Kansas State.
I actually agree. I think Oklahoma State's a very good home team. They've got a nice home field advantage. I think Oklahoma State's going to win this one. It'll be tight, though. Field goal.
College game day will be there tomorrow morning, as it will be number 5 Ohio State heading into Lincoln to take on our old buddy Scott Frost and Nebraska. I'm going to take Ohio State to win a close game here. It seems like Ohio State trips up one game every single season. They lose to a team they should not. And I think this could be the one, but I don't think it's going to be. I think they're going to wait until later on in the season to lose a game they shouldn't. I'll take Ohio State on the road to get a close win in Lincoln, Nebraska tomorrow against the Huskers.
I agree. I think this is going to be a good game, though. Should be pretty competitive, but I think Ohio State will pull ahead at the end and win the game.
Next up, Washington State coming off a tough loss last week to BYU, somebody like that last week. No, yeah. And they head into Utah to take on the Utah Utes coming off a tough loss to USC last Friday night. I'm going to take Utah to bounce back after a tough loss to USC last week. They should not have lost that game to USC last week. I'll take Utah at home in Salt Lake City to get a win against Washington State.
These are two teams that are really hard to predict, but I think Utah, being the fact they're playing at home, they're going to get the win against the Cougars.
Now into the NFL games for the weekend. I might as well just stop picking these Thursday night games because I'm
picking the Eagles.
I'm 0-4 in these
picking the
Thursday
Eagles.
night games.
Oh, is that what happened?
I'm 0-4 in these Thursday nighters. Tough loss for last week. I picked the Packers to win that game and they couldn't get it done. Let's head into the NFL games for Sunday. First game out will be the Tennessee Titans heading into Atlanta to take on Matty Ice and the Falcons. Two teams that I don't think are very good. I'm going to take Matty Ice and the Falcons to get a win because of the home field advantage. I'm going to take the Falcons at home to get a win, a close one against Mariota and the Titans.
I agree. I think if Atlanta was playing on the road at Tennessee, I like Tennessee, but at home, I like Atlanta to win this one.
Next up in a battle of two undefeateds, it will be Tom Brady and the Pats heading into Buffalo to take on Josh Allen and the Bills. I'm going to take the New England Patriots on the road to get a win in New Era Field and Buffalo to get a win. Close win here for Bill Belichick and the Pats. I'll take the Pats on the road to get a win in Buffalo against the Bills.
Go Bills!
The Bills have had probably one of the easiest schedules in the NFL early in the season. I think they are improved, but they're not as good as the record says. Patriots are. Patriots are going to win.
Yeah.
Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs heading into Detroit to take on the Lions. Another battle of two undefeateds. Give me Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to get a road win in Ford Field this week against Matt Patricia and the Lions.
Lions, another team that have benefited from a very easy early schedule. Kansas City is one of the probably 3 or 4 best teams in the NFL. I like Kansas City to win this one by 10.
Next up, the Oakland Raiders heading into Naptown to take on Jacoby Brissett and the Colts. Give me the Colts to get a win here at home against John Gruden and the Raiders. The Colts looking good, man. This team could win the division. I'll take the Colts to get a win at home against the Raiders.
To me, the Colts are kind of the surprise of the year after Luck announced his retirement that they would kind of fold, but Brissett's played better than expected. I also like Indianapolis to get the win here.
Next up, the San Diego Chargers. Well, the LA Chargers now heading into Miami to take on the Dolphins. My eliminator pick of the week. Give me the Chargers on the road to get a win in Miami against the Dolphins. I don't know which quarterback they're going to use this week. It doesn't really matter. I'll take the Chargers on the road to get a win in Miami against the Dolphins.
If you're in an eliminator league, you probably should take any team that plays against the Dolphins, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chargers will get a win here.
Next up, the Redskins going against the new mayor of New York, Daniel Jones. I will take the Giants at home to get a win at home against Case Keenum and the Redskins.
Neither team is very good. The Redskins are a mess, though. I also like the Giants to win, in part because of Daniel Jones.
Next up, the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium this weekend. I'm going to take the Ravens at home to get a win at home against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are going to start off slow and then they'll get it going late in the season, maybe finish 9-7. I'll take the Ravens at home with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to get a win at M&T Bank Stadium against the Browns.
I agree. I think the Ravens are one of the better teams in the AFC. I think the Browns have shown that they're not as good as the hype. I think the Ravens are going to win this pretty handily, probably 10 points.
Next up, the Carolina Panthers heading into Houston to take on the Houston Texans. Probably one of the most overhyped quarterbacks in the NFL after last week in Kyle Allen. I'm going to take the Texans at home to get a win against Kyle Allen and the Panthers.
I agree. I think the Panthers are a mediocre team at best. They lost to the Bucs. What's that tell you? So I like the Texans in this one.
Next up, the Seattle Seahawks looking to bounce back after a tough loss last week to the New Orleans Saints. Didn't see that one coming in.
Shock.
They head into Glendale to take on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Probably the most fun winless team to watch in the NFL right now is Arizona. I'll take the Seahawks to get a win on the road in Arizona against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals.
Man, I don't know what to think about Seattle after last week. I tend to agree with Scott. I think Seattle will get the win, but would not shock me if they got upset.
Next up, the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears should be a phenomenal game this weekend. A battle of 2-1s. I'm going to take Mitch Trubisky and the Bears to get a win at home at Soldier Field. Home field advantage will be enough this week. Give me the Bears on the at home in Soldier Field to get it done against the Vikings.
It's one of the toughest games to pick of the week. I could go either way here, but I tend to favor Chicago since they're at home.
Next up, Gardner Minshew and the Jags heading in to Denver to take on the Broncos. Give me Jacksonville to get another win. They looked good a couple Thursdays ago against the Titans, and they'll look good again this week. Give me the Jaguars on the road against the Broncos.
Big fan of Minshew. I like the mustache, and I like the quarterback play. I'm going to take the Jags in this one.
Next up, the Bucs heading in to LA to take on the Rams. -9.5 this week. I'm not taking that number. The Bucs will keep it closer than 9, but they're not going to win the game. Give me LA to win by a touchdown this week against the Bucs. I feel like Jameis Winston will turn the ball over at a terrible time in the game, and that'll cost us. Give me the Rams at home to get a closer win at home against the Bucs.
The Bucs' specialty is getting every game close, whether they win there or they lose. Usually they lose. This one will probably be no different. They'll probably keep it close against the Rams, but they'll lose in the end.
Next up, the Dallas Cowboys heading into New Orleans to take on the Saints. Give me Dak, Zeke, and the Cowboys to get a win. The Cowboys are going to find a way to win this game and stay atop the NFC East. I'll take the Cowboys to get it done in New Orleans against the Saints.
I think the Saints have found something, and I think the Saints are going to win this game. I think they're better than the Cowboys, and I think the Saints will win.
Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals heading into Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also known as one of the least watched Monday Night Football games of the season. Both of these teams are coming in 0-3. It's a tough pick here, but I'm going to go with Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers to get a home win at Heinz Field this week against Andy Dalton and the Bengals. Just for my buddy Terry Jewell, I'll take the Steelers at home to get it done against the Bengals.
I know someone who will watch the game, and that's Terry Jewell. He's one of the biggest Pittsburgh Steelers fans of all times. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are 0-3. They've got a backup quarterback starting. Normally I pick against them, but they're playing the Bengals, and they also got Terry Jewell on their side, so I'm going to take the Steelers.
And that will do it for this episode of Scott Speaking Sports, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back next week. My dad will not be here next week. He'll be behind the camera next week, taping us, as I will have my friends David and Steven in next week for the show. We'll be in a hotel next week for the show, so it'll be a little bit weird, but it should be a great time. Always like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys right back here next week on Scott Speaking Sports right here on YouTube. See you later, guys.
See you guys.